They don't see that it was clearly listed on the website. They think it's rude to make them wait in line. They can't believe he won't be open this Sunday. They think you're the crazy one. They're not normal customers, oh no. They are.
The Patronarchy.
Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of The Patronarchy. This is the show where we don't talk about the customers that wanted good service, they wanted good servitude. I'm your host, Vincent, here to bring on another guest to tell you more about the crazy customers. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you one of the hosts of the Cinema Psychos podcast, Brian
Cottington. It's a good name.
I know. I just never know. Some people want their last name
That's
on
cool.
here.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine
right.
with it. They all know me, man.
Yeah. But Brian, before we continue on, you give us your stories. Let the people know about yourself. Tell them about yourself, about the Cinema Psychos podcast.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you, Vincent, for having me on. I know we've already talked a little bit with your other podcast, P.O. Vincent, and it's kind of how we got to meet. But so I'm a filmmaker, educator, and apparently now a video designer working within the podcast industry. And my podcast, Cinema Psycho Show, has been going on since 2016. We're at 240 episodes currently. Man. So been doing a long time. And typically our podcast, I like to call it it's a mixture between serious film knowledge and film review and vulgar balls to the wall comedy.
You guys do get kind of nasty on there from time to time. As someone who, of course, has listened to this show, it's a fun time because you guys have that good balance of what I think makes the best entertaining, whether it's like video or podcast or what have you. When it comes to film review, you guys have that good balance of just like serious technical knowledge and insight with that bounced out with like just people who just enjoy movies or having fun and talking about it. I got to be in one episode was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was that was a good episode. Like you, me, and with John and Lane, we had a little bit of debate about the how the movie ends and whether or not it was respectful or not, which I thought was a good discussion. We all stayed cool with each other because I just, as someone who is, also a film lover and watches plenty of like different reviews and online and stuff like that, reading and watching, people get so heated, but it was nice. It was nice keeping things cool.
Well, it's good. What's great about that. Like, it's good when we have a guest who brings a solid opinion and challenges us. Like, that's the thing is we've had people on the past. There's one guy especially, and it's the worst episode of our show, in my opinion, who gave us a bad review. We brought him on. And we were just like, okay, you don't like our show. Well, tell us why. And, we'll give us your opinions. And he gave us none. Like it was honestly a softball of an episode too, because it was basically about superhero movies, which were like, everyone's got an opinion of.
It's hard to find someone who doesn't.
And this guy was just like, man, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like that. I'm like, dude, like you told us you hate our show and we give you a chance to come on and it, honestly, like looking back, and that was one of our early episodes, and like looking back, it probably wasn't the best tact to do that. But at the same time, it's like if you're gonna, you gotta put up or shut up. And he wanted to come on, and we're like, okay, fine, give us your. And he was just like, it was the worst. We were trying to pull information out of him, but when you came on, it was great because you gave us your opinion and you were able to go back and forth with us.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I didn't go to film school, but I've always been.
I did. I got the debt for it.
Well, I got college debt too. I just don't got film. I'm almost did. But that's another story. But. When it comes to everyone's got an opinion about something. Yeah. Everybody. Even but here's the thing, I have and it's something we don't bring on the show because this is not what the show is about. I have political opinions. Yes. But I do not talk about my political opinions or go into depth about certain things just because my political knowledge only goes so deep. And if I'm going to talk about that stuff, I want to have...
That's dangerous territory for it. Here's the thing. Yeah. We do that from occasion. You've probably heard that on our podcast. And the thing is that we had an interview with someone who kind of told us that, yeah, you could hold back on that stuff, but ultimately, like, no one here lives in a bubble.
Oh, true.
And so, like, that's kind of why from time to time, and we very rarely really go down that path, but from time to time, the stuff from real life does kind of infect our, goofy ass show about movies.
Oh, yeah.
So we too kind of tend to bring that stuff up. We try not to. It's something that I don't try on a daily basis to try to do and say, okay, what are we going to throw in here that's aligning with our political views? Because at the end of the day, we're a bunch of assholes talking about movies. And can I swear on this show? Am I cool doing that? Or
yeah, we should be good because I think. Okay.
You can bleep me if you want to.
The only stuff I'll bleep you about is stuff I told you not to say.
Yes, and I won't say that.
Yeah,
at all.
Which is just for those of you who listened to the episode before, but the show before. Thank you, by the way, for those new. I asked my guests not to bring up particular names of people or the companies they work for because I don't know how legal stuff works and I don't want to get sued.
You don't want to get that.
So
that's a bad response
but
right
you can,
there.
like I think because this show also, for those of you maybe listening on Spotify or wherever, this show is also on YouTube. And as far as I know, the YouTube policy is as long as you don't curse in the first couple minutes, you're pretty okay unless you get really crazy.
That's probably why our YouTube hasn't grown.
That's what I've heard. That's why, like James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd.
Yes.
He does his like the crap man, where he's like, what's BS. He didn't say what's bullshit, but he starts saying what's BS, because in the first couple minutes of the episode it started killing his algorithm chances. So that's why he starts that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, because I didn't know that. Yeah, learn something new every day.
Oh god, but anyway, like I'm saying, everyone's got an opinion on something. There's some things that I don't go into because I'm not as knowledgeable. Like I got my friend Krish Mohan, who's on the last episode. Krish is a stand-up comedian, and he likes to talk in his comedy a lot about social and political things. Much like in the way George Carlin did. Yeah, Krish knows his stuff. When Krish talks about stuff, he's done his research. But anyway, we got to get into what the show's about.
Let's get into it.
We're just ranting. It's fun as it was. It's fun as it was. But
you're gonna cut all this stuff out. It's cool. It's cool.
No, I'm just yeah. All right, but Brian, tell us about your encounters with the Patronarchy.
So I've had a lot of jobs. Okay. Like outside, like here's the thing, and a lot of people know this. When you go to film school, you may not actually end up making movies after you graduate. And so for me, it's only been relatively recently that I've actually been able to use the degree that I spend a lot of money on. So it's great. The company I work for right now, and I'm not going to say it, is in the podcast industry, and I love what I do, but it's been a long, bumpy road to get to that point. Oh, yeah. And one of the first jobs I had was working at a certain party supply store. Okay. That also sells certain Halloween costumes. And there's a lot of those out there.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Plenty. We have several right here in the Berg.
Several. Okay. And I worked at this place for about 3 years while I was in college. Okay. And when I first started, I liked it because I didn't know any better. And that's kind of how it works, right? You work in a place and you're just like, you didn't know any better. But I encountered some individuals that honestly questioned my sanity while I was working there, because people are nuts about party supplies. Like, I did not realize that there was a sect of people that obsess over brown plates. Like, that's a thing. I'm not even kidding you.
I know you're not kidding me. It's
like we would have people who come in who would literally get angry at us because we didn't have the right cutlery and we didn't have the right shade of paper products. This was on a daily basis. Okay. So my job when I worked there, I generally stayed away from the cash register because that's a hell I would put anyone through. So I was mainly doing like freight work. So I would put all the products out, straighten stuff up, and I would eventually do like things like the balloon counter. Okay. And one of the things I discovered is that the balloon counter is fun, especially when you get people who come in with very unusual requests for balloons. Okay. So it was a Saturday I was working there, and this group of girls came in, all right, and they had a very unusual request for balloons.
Okay. I feel like I know where this is going.
You know where this is going.
I might just be a jerk off.
This was funny, and this wasn't a negative one. It was just hilarious.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Because I didn't tell you I was going to have this story. I thought about it as I was talking. All right. So basically, this group of girls came in. They were doing a bachelorette party.
There we go.
Okay. And this particular store's policy was never clearly spelled out on what kind of balloons we filled. Okay. And we filled all kinds of balloons. We had the Mylar ones. We had a policy where you come in with whatever balloons you wanted. And so this particular group had, I would say, adult-themed balloons.
Oh.
Which I didn't know that they sold. And we're talking about anatomically incorrect balloons. All right?
Okay.
And so it was my job to blow up these balloons. Now, of course, when you're taking balloon orders, you always have to ask them, do you want the high float? Which high float, if you're not familiar with, is a certain substance that has another type of biological relative that you put in the balloon so that they stay afloat for a long time.
All right.
I'm being very PG with the type of descriptions of this. I hope people get it. So yeah, we're filling up these balloons, and this is not at nighttime on Saturday. This is 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock
in the morning on a Saturday.
Wow, they were going for an all day bachelor party.
Yeah, seriously, they were. So I'm having to fill these balloons up, and of course they're popping because they're adult themed balloons. They're not of questionable quality.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we kind of caught hell for it. Because literally you're seeing at 9 o'clock in the morning these phallic balloons and
look how much you're holding back. You can say it.
Okay, they're dick balloons.
Dick balloons. There we go.
And titty balloons floating in this area in front of children and families that are coming in on a Saturday morning, which let me tell you, at this store, Saturday balloon orders were crazy.
I'm sure.
And we're filling up these dick and tit balloons. Okay? So, again, I'm trying for your algorithm not to kill you. Then,
all
okay?
right, I appreciate it.
But yeah, so we kind of caught hell for that one because they're like, you can't fill up these adult balloons. I'm like, well, we didn't know.
Right.
They're paying customers. What am I going to do? Turn away dick and tit balloons? I mean, you can't do that. So yeah, that's
You're only a man.
Yeah, I was like 19, 28 years old at the time. I didn't know any better. And that was a fun type of the Patronarchy. So I didn't have a problem with them. Now, in terms of negative, with every positive story, you get like 1,000 negative ones.
We didn't.
And working at this particular store, I got to tell you, Halloween was the absolute worst. It was the worst time of the year at this store. If you've ever been to any type of these sort of party stores and costume stores around this particular time, Halloween is hell. Okay, it's hell. And my job was to be kind of on the front floor and take orders from people for costumes. Because what you would do is you'd go to the store, you'd have a giant wall of costumes.
I've been to the particular party supply store.
Yeah, oh yeah. All right, and you'd have to pick a number. It's the most inefficient way to get costumes. And honestly, they did it because they didn't want people to steal the stuff. Because believe it or not, and it sounds insane, people are terrible and they will just steal things like costumes.
What?
I know, right? For children. Okay, and they do it for children. So I would be in the front floor, people would come up to me and they'd be asking for like hundreds of costumes. It's like, oh, can I have this costume number, 250 and 500, and you'd have to then call back and get these costumes from you. And we had an issue with certain costumes that happened all the time. So at this costume store, we actually sold Playboy costumes.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't know that was a thing. But it is, okay?
I mean,
you want to go as the sexy nurse? Well, guess what? You can have the Playboy themed sexy nurse.
I was about to say it makes sense for Playboy to get in on that, because it's like that is a long running joke now in society where every Halloween you'll see sexy corn on the cob or sexy I don't know, Pikachu or whatever the hell, So
yeah. No, but it was a real issue that these particular costumes, now these were not, you know, the $50 costumes. These were like $120.
Damn, Playboy wasn't fucking around.
No, they were not fucking around. So these were $120 costumes a piece, okay? And we would constantly have people that would take these costumes and they would do either one of two things. Either go try them on, okay? And then steal the underwear. Every time. Every single time. They'd try the underwear on, they'd steal the underwear. They'd walk right out. They'd give all the little bits back to the costume. Give us, because that was what they would do, is they would return it to us and then we'd put it back in. And the underwear would be gone. Every time. And then honestly, once the underwear's gone, like that's $120 out the window.
Oh my God.
So we would have that. The other thing we would have is that people would take the costumes home and then they would return them. Now let me ask you something. With a costume that's supposed to be, in essence, lingerie.
Yeah.
And it gets returned.
Yeah.
You don't want that costume back.
Why is it? Because
and it would happen more than once.
It's funny that this is one of your stories because Lane was on a couple episodes ago and she told the story about when she was working at like, you know, like a retail place and people trying on clothes and just bad things that happened with the underwear there. And now you're on and you're like continuing this underwear.
People are fucking gross.
They are.
They're really, really gross. Like honestly, like I didn't think that people would do those sorts of things. I really didn't. Aside from that, the other issue we had was that so costumes by their very nature are not made for big people like us. They just aren't. I'm sorry. They are not. They are made for people who don't exist. Really, really skinny, tiny people. And we would constantly have an issue where it was a thing that sucked because again, I'm a bigger person. I get it. Yeah. But we would have there's one instance where we had a teenager who came in and tried on a costume. And the thing is this costume would not fit them. Mm-hmm. Okay. It didn't fit them at all. It made them not look that great. Okay. And the mom, apparently it wasn't me. It was one of the other people I worked with. She had made a comment and said, "Would you like me to go get the next size up?" And apparently that caused this mom to flip shit. Because it's like, we're not being dicks about it. We're just saying like, you're going to rip this costume. It's not made for your size. But here's the truth. None of these costumes are made for any person's size. They're made for skinny people. Yeah. Okay? Really skinny people. So it's not trying to be a mean thing to say, hey, maybe you don't look like a stuffed sausage that's about to rip in this costume. Yeah, which I'm sure the mentality of the company that makes the costume is when, you know, you see somebody walking around on Halloween in their costume, they don't want someone too big. And like, this is me talking about the way the company probably thinks about, like, in a way, when you go out in their costume, you're kind of modeling their product. Yes. So they probably make them not for bigger people because, you know, the mentality is like, you know, only skinnier people can look good in something. I got you one better. They make them not for bigger people because the material costs more. Oh, of course. It's so fucking penny pinching. Yes. These costumes are not made to last more than a night. Okay? Oh, yeah. So the truth of the matter is that it costs less to produce a costume that's skinny, that's made for really skinny people, and it costs more to make them for big people, or I would just like to call them average-sized humans. Okay? Not even talking like me. I know I got weight, it's whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is it is terrible because, unfortunately, it puts us in a position where we know that this woman's going to walk out and she's going to rip that costume apart and she's going to be upset and her self-esteem is going to be ruined. And it's one of these things where it's like, what if we just got her the costume that actually fit her? Yeah. And she's going to have a good time and not end up in the situation where she has to then come back to this store and return it and then get the same costume that she would have gotten the first time around. So like that's the situation that put us in. Right. The mom's just gonna flip. Mom flipped out. She was like, "I'm gonna call corporate. I'm gonna do all stuff." It's like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, you want your kid to like be at a party and then just a huge whip?
it's like it's not you're not commenting. It's just like you want the proper.
No.
Plus, you're not gonna be comfortable in that damn thing.
No, you're not. I mean, I've worn costumes for my films. I've worn costumes for just Halloween. And the truth of the matter is that these people who are working, trying to help you out here at a costume store, they're on your side. They're not against you. They're not trying to ruin your self-esteem. Okay, they're not trying to say, go for the fat costume because you're fat. It's like, no, they're looking out for you.
Yeah.
So like it put us in a position where we had to constantly be like, well, we're just not going to tell you that you can't fit in that costume. And that's one of the things we were told that really sucked. But I got to just, to close out the whole working at this particular store, I hated Halloween. I love Halloween. Halloween is my favorite time of the year. And working at this particular store made me hate people and made me hate that holiday more than anything. And that was one of the things I was like, I can't work there. Fuck these people. Fuck the costumes. Fuck all this stuff. Because I'm like, I hate that holiday because it brought out the worst. And it's one of the things that now when I see people around Christmas time who are working the stores, I know exactly how they feel because the mentality at that time of the year is the same as working at a costume store on Halloween.
Yeah, no doubt it. I mean, and you understand it to a degree because we're all people. We as workers, we go to other stores and buy stuff during the holidays. We understand that there's pressure, there's tension because you're like, oh God, I gotta get this. It's this kind of Halloween. It's gonna be this kind of Halloween party. I gotta get this kind of costume. Blah blah blah. Or Christmas time, it's like, oh God, I really gotta get my parents something good this year. I didn't have the money to get them something nice last year. This year I have more money. I can get them, whatever the situation is. But it's just like. As we've talked many times on the show with my previous guests, it's just some understanding. Yeah, you got to remember it's just like, hey, we're and
not miracle workers.
Yeah, we're not miracle workers. And yes, sometimes you do get a crappy employee who's like either barely doing anything or is just being stupid or mean or whatever. But it's that patience and understanding that we're always asking for.
I'm glad you brought up patience and understanding because my next story is totally about lack of that. And what happens.
Okay.
So,
before we go
go ahead.
Before we go into it, anybody who's watching or listening, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Libsyn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are, if you're enjoying the episode so far, subscribe or follow, depending on where you're watching, and it really helps the channel and lets me know that I'm doing good here and that I should keep on doing this show. So please, if you're enjoying it, subscribe or follow wherever you are. If you're not too sure, hey, keep listening and make your decision at the end of the video.
Awesome.
But anyway, let's get to the next story.
All right. So when I went to, during the recession, recession occurred, right? And because that happened as I graduated from college, I ended up getting my master's degree in film. Mainly because I want to teach. I got the teaching bug. I still love teaching. So when I graduated, the place that I got my degree from, my MFA, offered me a job.
Oh, wow.
And it was great. It was a teaching job, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay? It was being a AV events media person. Okay? It was, the specific title was events media specialist. And the thing is I worked at this job for almost 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was there for a long time. I had my kid through that job. I got married while I was on the job. So during that time, I, in essence, was the sole person responding. This was for a university. I'm not going to name who the university was. But I was the sole person in charge of all AV for the 3 campuses that this place had.
Wow.
I also was in charge of all AV and video for events at this place. And that was every event. Okay. I was not paid as well as I should have. And things like, and I know you said you were going to do one on bosses, and I got some stuff.
Eventually.
Not the boss I had there, but like management above.
Oh, yeah. Right now we're just taking a cut. Eventually on the show we will have.
I was like, you got to go back because I've had some stories.
I want to call it Beelzebosses, but that's also the name of a Tenacious D song, so I don't know how the copyright works on that.
There you go.
I'll get back to it. But anyway.
But the point is that in that time, that nearly 9 years, I basically met with people that I had to make events for, make AV setups for. And let me tell you something. People do not understand the value of that material, of audio video stuff. They don't care. They don't understand it. They don't like the pricing of things. They think it's more. They think it should be cheap. Okay. And when you give them real pricing on things, they don't. They're like, well, that's too expensive. That blows our budget out. It's like, well, no, that's how much things cost. Now I had one person, and the entire time I've had one person that really like ground my gears to the point where I was ready to like flip shit. Okay. And this was someone who was in the film program that I graduated from. So he was a student. He wasn't in at the same time that John and Lane and I were there, but he was someone who came in like a couple years after us, and he was premiering his film. Okay. And he wanted to premiere it in the theater that I also ran, because in terms of doing AV, you also run the theater there. So I'm like, all right, cool. And keep in mind that I had no budget, because no one wants to give any money to me. Every time I'd asked for a budget, it was, nope, can't get that. Or, it's going to take about 9 months. Or in this case, it was, well, he wanted to show his film, his student film, okay, with a 4K projector. And he wanted it to be done with a big screen, and he wanted all the sound and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we don't have that. I sent an email to him. I'm like, this came in like end of the day. So I sent the email to him. I'm like, listen, this is what we have to offer.
All right.
Okay. We have a 1080p projector. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a screen. It's a 4x3 screen though. It's not a 19x20 screen. It's not that. We didn't at the time, when currently they before I left there, they did upgrade sound and they did upgrade lighting. We didn't have that. Okay. So we had like very shitty sound. And I told him all that. And most people, they get that. They're like, okay, well, I'll temper my expectations and just be like done with it. All right. This person had a giant stick up their ass.
Oh, Lord.
Because instead of working with me or kind of assessing what different options we could do, this person decided to send a mass email to the president of the university, to the board of the university, to my boss, to people, like literally, these are important people. People make
these are
way
top
more
level
money.
Yeah, these are top level sons of bitches.
Yeah. Way more money than I do. Complaining about the theater, complaining about my response, complaining about all this stuff. Just, oh man, it was a shitstorm of an email. And like, I get the next morning, and my boss is like, what the hell's going on here? And I'm like, I told this guy that this is what our capabilities are, and he didn't like my answer. You know, like that, and I'm just sitting there just going like, well, what the hell do you want me to do?
This guy thought he's the next James Cameron.
He did. He seriously did. No one's ever heard from him since.
I wonder why.
And I'm like, dude, you're not fucking Steven Spielberg. I don't give a shit what the hell fucking movie you made.
Yeah.
You know, like, and this was like his senior film.
I was gonna say, he hasn't even graduated. He's still a student. Like, dude.
Yeah. Well, his whole big thing was like, oh, well, I'm going to bring all this thing to this particular university. I'm going to bring all these people outside. I'm like, no, you're not. You're in Pittsburgh, dude. Sorry. But yeah, he was one of the absolute worst ones that I've ever had to deal with, because I've never had someone who felt that. And I've had people who literally have been complete jerks. I had one person one time, this was this guy, who expected me to fix his PowerPoint. Like, he had a presentation.
All right.
He brought in a USB thumb drive. One, he didn't know how to plug a USB thumb drive into the computer to project his presentation. And two, he expected me to fix his PowerPoint.
Why?
Because he didn't know how to do it, because his secretary had done it. So like that's the mentality that you get when you're working events, is that people expect the help to do everything, even if that's not your job description. My job was to make sure the cameras, to make sure the projectors, to make sure that sound worked. That's it.
Right.
My job is not to fix your PowerPoint. Right. My job is not to bring in a 4K fucking projector for your half-ass, Mickey Mouse film. All right. But a lot of that was what I was dealing with at that particular place. And ultimately, the one bright shining spot of the pandemic is that it made me reassess my relationship with that job and made me decide to make the leap to doing something that I really wanted to do. Yeah. And I wouldn't be where I'm at now, working for a company that I really appreciate and love, and doing actually the work that I went to school for, if I didn't take that leap and basically get out of a bad situation.
I hear you, man. I got 2 points to in response to all that. One, that is why I begin every episode with my little shtick of, we're not talking about the people who wanted good service; they wanted good servitude, because that is the mentality that some of these people have. The client, the customer, I am the master. You are the servant. Yeah. I expect you to manifest magic out of nowhere, and all that stuff. Is just like, and I've said before, I've said a million times, like, everyone's entitled to good service, or whatever company you're working with, or making a request of a product or services or whatever. But just like this, if you don't know, listen to them and what they're telling you. Just go with it. Like, because people have this weird like previous guest on the episode, Zoja of the band Rain of Z.
Yeah, I know her.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, but she was talking. She had she had a job where she had laser hair removal, and she was a laser hair removal technician. Yeah. And people had these weird ideas of how lasers worked, and hey, you still got to take into account biology, your body type, your shape, the type of hair you have, and all that stuff. People just have, they think that, they think they know. Like, it's just like, woo, it's just like, yeah, but well. Like, I saw this on TV once. Well, yeah, because that thing on TV probably had a pretty nice budget or something.
Not even just that. TV is so manipulated that you can't even take what you're seeing for fact. I once went to NAB. I went to the National Association of Broadcasters Convention in Las Vegas. I did that when I was in college. And the keynote speaker for one of their events were a group of editors that worked on The Surreal Life. Remember The Surreal Life from back in the day?
Yeah, VH1.
Yeah. So they were the two biggest idiots I'd ever heard. And they still kind of rank up there as biggest bullshit artists I've ever heard, because they basically explained how they bastardize reality with their product. They said, like, oh yeah, in a normal production, you have a script and you have a director who's giving you their vision. And yeah, we basically just take all this footage and we mold it into what we want them to think.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, and you're proud of that? Like, I almost want to be like, you basically have led to the downfall of television as we know it. Now, fortunately, we have AMC and we have, HBO that has brought, a lot of that storytelling.
Oh, yeah, there's been a lot of great.
But like, this was at the height of reality television, and they were so proud of their bullshit artistry.
Before I get to my thing, it's funny that you bring up The Surreal Life, because I would watch that every time, because I recognize some of these celebrities. I would, when I was a kid. Now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, look at. There was the one season, and I saw this because they admitted this on VH1 in some special.
Yeah,
I forget if it was just about the Surreal Life or something else, but there was a season where you had Tammy Faye Baker, who they just made a movie about. Jessica Chastain.
It was good.
It's good.
It was a good movie.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And the disgusting Ron Jeremy was in the same season, and at the time we did not know how truly disgusting he was. Now we're like, but anyway, so they were in the same season. I forget. I apologize. I forget who were the other celebrities that were in that season. But the funny thing was, Ron Jeremy, being Ron Jeremy, one night he invited a bunch of his porn friends and associates over to have a party. So they're in the back by the pool having a party. The other celebrities on the season were there. And in one shot, you see that Tammy Faye Baker sitting by the pool, and while this party's going on around the pool.
Yeah.
Now you don't see her in the same. Now you don't see any of the other porn people sitting next to her, but you see her sitting by the pool where the party is happening, because you can tell from the shots. And people are like, "Wow, I can't believe Tammy Faye Baker would hang out with all these porn people." She's doing the show. She knows who Ron Jeremy is, and she knows. And, so but you would think that she would complain or walk away or something. And people then, as it turned out, she didn't participate in the party.
No.
When the party was happening, she stayed in her room all night. She didn't yell or complain or be mean or anything like that. She's like, I'm living in a house with Ron Jeremy. He's going to go do things. I'm going to go stay in my room. But the shot of her sitting by the pool was footage from a completely different night.
Yes.
And that's what they did. And they do that crap all the time in reality television. Like there was I forget, there was an episode of Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay, which I'm a Kitchen Nightmares.
I mean, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. But as someone, and once again, you actually went to school for film, and you are a professional video editor. But as someone who's done very amateur editing on YouTube and stuff like that, when you start to do that, you start to pick up on stuff. Like there's like times where I'm like, Gordon's like screaming at somebody, and they go to a different shot of like one of the waitresses like turning their head. And I could tell that that the waitresses are not reacting to that. They're reacting. That's probably something that happened earlier in the day.
No, I guarantee you, they probably directed that. Yeah, that's oftentimes what it'll do. In film production, we called that a naughty shot, an ODDY.
Okay.
Because in traditional television production, when you have like an interview like we're doing right now, if we had two cameras going, we might want to get the reaction shot of me say going like this. Yeah. And in reality TV, that's in essence what they're doing. They know that Gordon Ramsay's gonna scream his head off at somebody. Like they know that's gonna happen. It's predictable. Yeah. So it's like, well, we need to get people's reaction shots to that so I can cut it in. Now it just makes for good television. Like it adds more visual interest. Yeah. But at the same time, it is warping reality. And if you're trying to put this out there that this is reality, then it's kind of bullshit, because people, unfortunately, they watch what they see on TV that's billed as a reality TV show, and they take it as doctrine, take it as actual reality, and they don't understand that it's pre-produced.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I'm not one of those people that saying like everything that's ever happened on Kitchen Nightmares is BS. I'm just saying I can tell from that they over dramatize stuff via the editing. Yeah. But anyway, I'll say my second point that I'm having enjoying this. I keep shit on track, but then we'll get to your final story. Your second point about you leaving your job at the university, and going on to something you enjoy more, and how that, as I said before on the show, I used to work at a movie theater, was there for many years, and it's not me crapping on the theater. It's just me saying like I stayed at a job for too long where, it's a movie theater and I wasn't a manager, so they only paying me so much, and dealing with customers. And I got fed up with the place, and the job was making me more irritable, more mean, more short, where I used to be one of the more nicer employees that people would like to work with. And suddenly, like, no one really said to my face, but I could feel it that people were getting like tense around me. Yeah. And some I found out were really hating me, and not until after I quit. But I quit, I went through a couple of jobs, but now the current job I have, is it my dream job? No, but I'm a job where I'm getting paid a lot more. I'm respected. Yeah. I have a good boss. I'm able to afford, to pay bills and stuff like that. Yeah. Getting out of a job that's messing with you so hard. I mean, you really don't understand sometimes the psychological effects it's having on you. Yeah. Until you get out of there and you're at a place so much more comfortable. So I totally relate to that so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you bring up a lot of those things that the job you had at the movie theater, because I literally was in the same boat. I actually was finding that I was more angry, and it was more quick to react in a negative light to just normal everyday stuff, to the point where I actually had people, we would have these events meetings every Thursday, and it was one of these things that I was getting so frustrated with just the normal everyday stuff of, okay, these are what events are coming by, that even with things that were relatively not anything that are going to be negative on my end to do, I was just approaching it in a very negative light, and approaching it from a standpoint of like, oh, well, this is going to be a problem, or oh, I'm going to have to do this. And I just kept finding that I was getting more into that darker mindset and just dreading going to work every day. Oh, yeah. And it's like, yeah, it paid the bills, and yes, it kept us, fed and kept roof over head. But at some point, you have to do what is right for you. And it's not just a financial means, it is a mental health thing. I told my wife that, and it was coming to that decision of leaving that place in the middle of the pandemic was not an easy one. Oh, no. It was one that I had to do a lot of research on. Unfortunately, I'd found a place at the time, and I jumped to another job that got me out of there before I landed on this job. Right. And there was a year. I'm not going to say it's all bed and roses, and I'm not going to say, oh, you can do it today. here's the thing. We went through about a year where we did have issues with just kind of like financially staying afloat. We got through it and ended up finding this job, but like that's the risk. Oh, yeah. You know, I found something that I thought was good and I liked it a lot, but it just didn't pay well. And then eventually something came around that fit all the boxes. So I guess my big thing to anyone who's watching this, because I imagine you get people who are like dealing with this stuff every day, is that you have to sometimes ask yourself, is it better for you to suffer at a job that you hate that pays you okay? Or are you willing to take the risk that maybe, just maybe, there's something out there that will work for you and will not only pay you well, but give you a better sense of mental health? Like this job I'm at currently, it's a dream job. Like being able to make video every day, I get to work from home. So I'm around more of my kids. I mean, that's the thing too, is I wasn't around my family all the time because I'd have to do these events. I have to do, all this stuff for this place. And it was something where like I would come home exhausted. I would come home depressed, and it wasn't a good place for me. But you gotta weigh the risk.
Oh, totally.
And I would always say that if you can survive, make the risk on yourself and bet on yourself and bet on your own mental health, because it's only a matter of time before you get fired from that place. Because I even told my boss, I'm like, if I stay here any longer, I'm going to say something that's going to get me fired. And it's going to be the wrong person. And I'm just going to literally say, go fuck your mics. I don't get like that's what I'm going to say.
No, that's where I was at the end of the cinema, where I don't know if I told the story before, but super short, like customer pissed me off. Yeah. Their kid pissed me off. I said something to the kid. The customer confronted me. I stood my ground in a partially right, partially ignorant way. Yeah. And the manager, who was a friend of mine, confronted me. And I was like, and they're like, "You can't do that." I was like, "I'm going to do it again." And I was just like, he said that, like, well, fine. I don't care. I got to write you up then now, man. It's
like, do it. Go do it then.
Yeah. And then I felt, and that's when it hit me. I was like, damn, why did I say that to him? We're friends. Like, why did I say that to him? Yeah. Right. So that was, and then just a little later that night, I told him, like, hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks notice in, of like, because I don't want to be, I don't like the way I am, and I don't like the way I'm for you guys, because like my friend, I was friends with some of my other coworkers. I didn't want to be that guy anymore. So
no, you got to do what's right for you.
And this is gonna date this episode, but to quote the recent live-action Chippendales Rescue Rangers movie, yeah, I watched it last night. To quote the movie, the biggest risk is taking no risk at all. That's a little quote from the film.
It's true. Yeah. It's true though.
All right, Brian, you got one more story?
I can. Yeah, I got all sorts of stories.
Okay, let's do one more quick.
So I got one about. This was a crazy. This goes back to working at the Halloween / party store. Okay. So in the first summer I worked there, we had 2 incidences that occurred almost back to back that were bizarre in nature. Okay. The first one was apparently our trees, because a lot of these party stores, they have certain like little like foliage around the area, like trees or bushes or whatever. Yeah. So it was during the summer, and we actually had to call the fire department because our trees caught fire.
Whoa!
In front of the store. And my boss at the time, he was an idiot. He really was an idiot, but he thought he could put the fire out with a cup of water, not a pail, but a cup. So he ends up getting a cup, puts out the water. Okay. So that's incident number 1. We had to call, and then within the same week,
one tree, one idiot, one cup.
Seriously, right? So within the same week, we had a customer who came in, and I feel bad for her now. Looking back now, I feel bad for her. Yeah. But we had a customer who came in, and this was probably on a Sunday afternoon, and she was wandering the store. Uh-huh. Okay, and she ended up in an aisle, and she started writing down things in the store. She was there for about an hour in the same spot, writing stuff down on a piece of paper. We don't know what she was writing down. We looked at her car parked in front of the store, and it had been clearly like glass had been broken and it had been like taped up.
Oh, okay.
So the rest of us, I think at the time, I think there were maybe 4 people, including myself, who were working at the store. And of course, the other 3 are all chicken shits. They're like, don't want to go down there. And so they're like, well, Brian, you look scary. Okay. In a polo and brown shirt and brown pants. Yeah. All right. So like, Brian, you look scary. And I was doing freight at the time. So I was basically like pushing cart around full crap. And she's like, Brian, you look scary. Why don't you go down there and just go see what's going on? And I'm like, okay. You guys are a bunch of chicken shits, but all right. So I go down there. I'm like, ma'am, do you need help with something? She's like, oh no, I'm just writing. Like, okay. Are you sure you don't need any help? No, I'm good. Okay. So I turn back around. I'm like, yeah, she says she's writing stuff down and she's good. Okay. So they call the cops.
Oh, Lord.
Because clearly the woman needed help.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's something going on.
And so yeah, cops came and they escorted her out. And she's like, this is funny. This happened at Giant Eagle too, a couple days earlier. So she
said that?
Yes.
What in the...
Like, she had gone and done this. And no one knows what the hell was going on. I still, to this day, don't know what she was writing. I don't know why she decided that at this particular store, that she had to go to a party and costume store to do this at. But she was like, yeah.
Oh, my... The mystery was never...
The mystery was never solved.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But it was one of the crazier moments at that particular store, but especially because it's like, when do you ever call the cops on a customer? I mean, there are other customers I would have loved to have called the cops. Anytime we had Jimmy Buffett in concert, everybody and their mother showed up at this particular store to get margarita makers and then return them, coincidentally, the next day. All used. And then we took them. We had to take them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow. So a woman who would just go in the store, pick a spot.
She picked a spot right near the. It was near the wedding stuff, like the wedding stuff. Because we had aisles of different themes.
Right. Oh yeah.
And the wedding stuff was where that was at.
Maybe she went to the giant. She went to the grocery store.
I don't know what was going on with
maybe it was a wedding thing. She went to the grocery store to check out their cakes, and then she went to you guys for the wedding stuff.
Well, she had done this like I guess the couple days prior. I don't know, but like the point is this, that people are weird.
Yes.
People are very strange.
Yes. And
working at a paper supply and costume store bring out the weird and crazy and perverted of the society.
Dude, once again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but I spent so many years there. Did the crap that happened at the cinema over the years.
Oh, I imagine, like, dark room. So much.
Sometimes
no black light allowed to go in there and clean that place up.
No, oh God, dude. Just sometimes sometimes people would pull crap when the room was dark, and sometimes they wouldn't.
That's ballsy, quite literally ballsy.
Yes. Oh God, the crap that me or my coworkers like over the years, because it's just like. And sometimes I get like, couples they kiss during the theater, but plenty of people went past kissing. I mean, they were kissing, but they weren't kissing each other's lips.
Now, see, I kind of understand that to a point. If you're going to see a movie and there's nobody there, okay, go ahead and do what you want to do.
Yeah, true. But
like, if you've got like. If you're going to see a Marvel movie, if you're going to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you're like, hey, you know what? I want to show you my Strange. I don't think you want to do that.
No.
In that type of movie where there's children around.
No, and people would do that. There was a kids movie one time. People were like, they left before we confronted them, but they were doing some stuff in a movie where, and here's the problem, it was a guy getting a blowjob, and the movie hadn't started yet. Like, the lights were still on. The previews hadn't even started yet.
So wait, it was during movie news?
The movie news hadn't even started yet.
Oh my God.
It was a slow day, so it was just them and like maybe 4 or 6 other people, but some of them were kids. They were sitting in the very top row, so there was nobody behind them, except for me, the projectionist, because I was locked down.
I was watching you be like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah. I didn't know, I had to like call it in.
What did you say?
I had to call it in on the radio. I just called the manager. I was like, hey, you know, I'm on the radio. I was like, hey, call my cell phone, because I can't say it over, because it's like we didn't have headsets at the time. So anybody, if like an usher was walking by somebody and I say somebody's getting a BJ, I can't like say that, and I had to move quick because at any moment, as any of the other customers in the theater turned around, they're gonna see that, and it's funny because like, hold on. It's so funny because here I got a visual of which movie it was.
Oh God,
my fiance
was one of. No!
It was How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh my God!
It was, yes.
So someone was getting their dragon sucked.
Yeah. They were trained. She trained her man's dragon.
Oh man!
And yeah, it was 3D too. It was in a 3D theater. So
so they got the glasses on. It's like, oh, it's really coming at you.
People are so nasty.
And people are gross,
dude. And there's even nastier stories I can tell.
Oh, I bet.
Oh my God, because. Oh my God.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta do an episode where you give like all the nasty shit that happens in movie theaters.
Yeah, one of these days I will do an episode of like me talking. I won't just be me. I'll have somebody on to like kind of play my role as a host. But one of these days, I'll do.
I know my brother worked at a movie theater for a number of years too, and in the same sort of similar situation, just nasty people. Gross stuff.
And just this weird, and then the soccer moms when they burn it. Then my son's turning 8 and he's having the birthday party here, and I expect perfection. You know, like, oh,
first of all, I got no problems with a birthday party at a movie theater, but like, out of all the places you could go to, Chuck E. Cheese. Fun for all. I mean, I don't want to mention names. You can beat those out.
No, those are the ones because we're not talking crap on them.
But like any of those like places that actually have like real entertainment for kids, and you pick a movie theater, like I don't know, unless your kid's like a cinephile.
Yeah, like if my parents never.
Me, I would have loved it, but
as a kid too, because like I loved movies. Growing up, even when I was very young, I was like the person in the family who's like, hey Vincent, who was that actor in the movie with the car? I'm like, Burt Reynolds. Like Smokey and the Bandit. I'd be the people that ask me, and
but like most kids, like my kids, they don't care. They're just like,
some kids don't.
They don't care.
But I've always been that way. I've always been that kid. Where, like even when I was a kid, and people like talk in a movie theater would bug me, and especially bugs me now as an adult, especially as an adult who worked at a movie theater. But anyway, we're oh my God, we're about to go into another rant, and I think I'm running out of power on the camera. So, or at least I know I'm reaching.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Good conversation.
No, I'm having a damn good time. As long as we're having a good time on this show, man. Whether it's you or somebody else, that's a good show to me. But anyway, but Brian, thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Appreciate
it's been great.
It. Yeah, no, fun stories, fun discussions. I hope this was cathartic for you a little bit.
It was very cathartic. I didn't think I was going to come in and actually spill guts about, job changing, but it's good. It's really good.
And that's one of the things I want my guests to have on the show, because this is to vent and talk about and relate. And I hope anybody who's watching or listening, you find some catharsis in these stories, because if you have never worked a customer service related job, then you don't know. No. And sometimes you can tell it's like, you've never really worked, and that's why you're being a dick. Like,
once you have a customer who's like, well, this is what happens if you don't go to college. It's like, fuck you.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, you work.
That's what I've seen that. I had that happen to me once, but I've seen that happen to other people too.
Yeah. No, I went to college,
got 2 degrees. Okay.
But anyway, like guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, like I said, hey, click follow or subscribe, leave us a like, comment down in the comments section, however you can interact and let us know that you enjoyed the episode. Please do, and tell us some of your stories of interacting with horrible, nasty, or just weird customers. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear them. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen. Oh God! I just that was a hell of an episode. How to Train Your Dragon. Shit. Bring it back. That was my knob, man. Like, that was my knob. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Hope you check out the next episode of The Patronarchy.
See ya.